Hongyu approached Yao Yu, her expression tinged with concern. "I can't believe they're already attacking the generals," she murmured. Yao Yu's face was grim as he explained. "It's a full-blown revolt. We need to report back to headquarters immediately." He gave her a reassuring nod, then turned with his star snail team, leaving the area with a sense of urgency. Hong Yu's eyes shifted to Lu Shang, who was observing the retreating red snail team. "Captain, do you think we should advance further into the spatial crack?" she asked, her tone laced with hesitation. Lu Shang, his gaze fixed on the retreating figures, remained silent for a moment, deep in thought. Suddenly, a monstrous centipede-like mutant beast emerged from the shadows, its mandibles clicking menacingly as it lunged toward him. Reacting swiftly, Lu Shang's hand shot out, landing firmly on the beast's head. A surge of golden energy flowed from his palm, searing into the beast's body. With a powerful twist, he decapitated the creature in one clean motion. The lifeless body crumpled to the ground with a heavy thud. Hong Yu stared at him in astonishment. Lu Shang, a smile of satisfaction on his face, wiped the blood from his hands with a casual flick. "No need to worry," he said cheerfully. "We don't have to venture beyond the 25th level. I've got it covered." His calm demeanor and effortless display of power left the Tiger-Scorpion team in awe. Lu Shang's body began to radiate a brilliant purple energy, filling the air with a palpable sense of strength. He fixed his gaze on the group with an unwavering confidence. "Rest assured, I can handle anything that comes our way. Just as I led you here, I can guide you out without issue." Hong Yu, her initial shock melting into resolute determination, placed her hands on her hips and nodded firmly. "Understood," she said, her voice steady. The team set off again, moving cautiously through the treacherous terrain. As they pressed on, more mutant beasts emerged from the shadows, their grotesque forms slithering and lunging at them. Lu Shang responded with a flare of golden energy enveloping his body. With swift, decisive movements, he cut through the beasts effortlessly, their bodies falling apart in a spray of gore. Hong Yu and her team watched in stunned silence as Lu Shang dispatched the creatures with terrifying ease. Lu Shang's purple energy pulsated through the air, creating a protective barrier around him. Each step he took seemed to slice through the oncoming threats, his power effortlessly decimating the mutant beasts. He closed his eyes momentarily, savoring the sensation of his energy sweeping through the area. As they reached the 25th level, a wave of satisfaction washed over him. He recalled a giant fish-shaped mutant beast from earlier, contemplating that with his current strength, he could face anything short of a legendary level 9 beast. Lu Shang's mind raced as he recalled the Dream Realm System's records. The map he had studied detailed the underground spatial crack, with a specific marker indicating the location of a dense silver deposit at its center. He could almost feel the presence of this rare resource. Closing his eyes, Lu Shang's body surged with a pulsating purple energy, which began to spread throughout the spatial crack. His energy traced a radiant path through the levels, guiding him from the 25th to the 30th floor. A wave of excitement surged through him as he finally pinpointed the dense silver deposit on the 30th level. Its potent energy radiated powerfully, signaling its location. With a sharp intake of breath, Lu Shang's expression shifted from focus to exhilaration. "We're close," he called out, his voice cutting through the tension. "Stay close and follow me." Surrounded by a shimmering green aura, Lu Shang took off with renewed urgency, his speed leaving the others trailing behind. Hong Yu, astonished by the sudden burst of speed, exchanged worried glances with her team. "What's he up to?" she wondered aloud, trying to keep pace. Behind her, the blue-haired man clenched his fists, his eyes narrowing with determination. The bald man, gritting his teeth in frustration, muttered, "Wasn't General Lu Shang supposed to keep us above the 25th floor? Now we're descending even further." Despite their concerns, the team pushed on, descending rapidly until they reached the 30th level. Lu Shang's green energy flared brighter as he sprinted ahead, widening the gap between himself and the others. Hong Yu's anxiety grew with each step, her gaze fixed on Lu Shang's retreating form. Suddenly, a menacing dark red energy slithered toward Hong Yu and her team, filling the air with an oppressive weight. Her heart raced. "This is bad," she thought, her instinct screaming at her to act. "We need to stick together." She turned to her team, issuing a stern order. "Keep close and don't scatter. Follow General Lu Shang." The team tightened their formation, their determination hardening as they increased their pace. Their synchronized effort brought them closer to Lu Shang, who was now nearing the far end of the 30th level. Arriving at their destination, Lu Sheng skidded to a halt amidst a haze of smoke. Before him lay the dense silver deposit, its sheer size and brilliance illuminating the area. Nearby, a massive mutant beast, guarding the treasure, glared at them with a fierce intensity. Hong Yu and her team caught up, their eyes widening at the sight of the dense silver. They fell into a stunned silence, the imposing presence of the mutant beast making their hearts race. The beast snarled, advancing menacingly. Without hesitation, Lu Sheng extended his right hand, his golden energy coalescing into a powerful burst. The energy streaked through the air, striking the mutant beast squarely. The beast let out a deafening roar as it was blasted backward, its body convulsing before collapsing to the ground. A faint, satisfied smile crept onto Lu Sheng's face as he watched the beast fall. Lu Sheng's energy surged to an intense level, his golden aura flaring brightly. The mutant beast, battered by the force of his attack, crashed into the stone wall with a thunderous impact. In an instant, its life was extinguished, and the beast's lifeless body crumpled to the ground. With a satisfied smile, Lu Sheng approached the fallen beast. With minimal effort, he hoisted its corpse and tossed it aside, the carcass landing near Hong Yu and the others. Tiger Scorpion team, collect the marrow liquid, he ordered. The team moved swiftly. Hong Yu and her companions, eyes wide with curiosity and anticipation, approached the beast's corpse. The bald man, marked with a distinctive tattoo, began shifting the surrounding stones. His fingers brushed against something metallic, and he unearthed a gleaming stone. He picked it up, examining it with increasing excitement. "This is dense silver," he exclaimed, his voice tinged with disbelief. The discovery caused a stir. The team, abandoning their backpacks, focused intently on the newfound treasure. The bald man turned to Lu Sheng, grinning widely. "With this, we're set for riches," he declared, extending his hands to display the dense silver. Hong Yu's gaze shifted from the bald man to Lu Sheng, her confusion evident. Lu Sheng's face broke into a knowing smile. The bald man and the blue-haired man eagerly gathered 2 more dense silver deposits, their faces alight with joy. Hong Yu, intrigued, joined in. She picked up a dense silver stone, her eyes widening with pleasure as she examined it. "This deposit is of high purity," she announced, her voice laced with excitement. "The vein must be substantial." As the bald man clutched the dense silver with one hand and placed the other on the blue-haired man's shoulder, both men's eyes sparkled with greed. They imagined the possibilities: improved equipment, enhanced capabilities. The bald man's grin widened as he speculated about the upgrades, while the blue-haired man envisioned acquiring a coveted rank 7 dense gold shield. The mood shifted as the dense silver's dark energy began to seep into their minds. The orange-haired man, his gaze wild and frenzied, thought of upgrading his combat suit to an S-level model. The atmosphere grew charged with avarice, the air thick with unspoken desires. Hong Yu, sensing the shift, felt a pang of unease. The group's expressions became increasingly unhinged, their greed threatening to overshadow their reason. With a piercing cry, she shouted, "Quiet! Something's wrong." The bald man turned, confusion etched across his face. His gaze followed Hong Yu's line of sight, and his expression turned to one of shock. Lu Sheng stood behind him, his eyes fixed with an intense, unyielding stare. The bald man's heart raced as he felt the weight of Lu Sheng's gaze. Sweat broke out on his forehead as he clutched the dense silver deposits tightly. Panic-stricken, he stammered, "I didn't mean to steal. I'll put it back." He and the blue-haired man hurriedly returned the dense silver to its original location, their movements frantic. The bald man slapped himself on the face, trying to shake off the sudden fear. The bald man's face was a mask of panic, sweat pouring down his forehead. His eyes darted to the ground as he begged Lu Sheng for forgiveness. "Please, General Lu Sheng. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." Lu Sheng remained silent, his expression unreadable. Hong Yu stepped forward, hands on her hips, her tone stern. "We've all done our part, but the dense silver was discovered by General Lu Sheng. So, naturally, all the benefits go to him." The bald man and his companions shifted awkwardly, avoiding eye contact. With forced smiles, they muttered in agreement, their embarrassment palpable. Lu Sheng approached the bald man, a friendly smile on his face. He placed a reassuring hand on the bald man's shoulder. "Greed is natural," he said calmly. "I understand where you're coming from." The bald man, now trembling, fell to his knees. "I swear, I'll never be greedy again. Thank you for your understanding and forgiveness. His voice was a desperate plea. In response, Lu Sheng extended his hand, summoning a blazing golden sphere of energy. The bald man's eyes widened in fear, bracing himself for punishment. Hong Yu's eyes shot wide open, her concern evident. Stop, General Lu Sheng, please. But Lu Sheng was already in motion. His golden energy surged, morphing into powerful slashes that sliced through the dense silver deposit. His body radiated a potent purple energy that cut the dense silver into small, precise cubes. The cubes floated down, forming neat stacks on the ground. Lu Sheng, with one hand on his waist, pointed back at the cubes with his thumb. What are you waiting for? He asked the Tiger Scorpion team. Help carry all this dense silver. The three men stared in shock, their jaws dropping. With a stunned yes, they scrambled into action. Hong Yu, feeling a wave of relief, wiped sweat from her brow. At least Lu Sheng hadn't let his anger get the better of him. She was grateful for his understanding. The team swiftly unpacked their backpacks, filling them with the precious dense silver. The bald man and the blue-haired man exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier greed now replaced with a mix of guilt and astonishment. They murmured to each other about their uncharacteristic behavior. Had they been possessed by some dark force? Hong Yu approached them, her gaze steely. Stop chatting and get to work, she ordered firmly. Nervous and sweating, the two men intensified their efforts. The bald man grumbled to himself, regretting giving away their extra supply bags to the Star Snail team. If only we hadn't given those bags away, he muttered. We could have carried so much more dense silver. The blue-haired man beside him nodded, his thoughts mirroring the bald man's. It would have been better to keep the extra bags for ourselves. As Lu Sheng's body blazed with fiery energy, he couldn't help but feel a growing unease. The Tiger Scorpion team's behavior had shifted dramatically. Their initial camaraderie had turned into a disturbing display of greed and selfishness, something that wasn't evident before they reached the 30th level. The oppressive black fog seemed to be altering their attitudes, and Lu Sheng suspected it had something to do with this. The fog began to dissipate, revealing footprints etched into the ground. Lu Sheng's senses sharpened. He stood up, fists clenched, ready for whatever was coming. The fog cleared to expose several entrances on the 30th level, and strange voices began to echo, hinting at the presence of others. Figures emerged from the shadows, their eyes fixed on Lu Sheng and his team. Lu Sheng quickly recognized them as the martial arts fanatics that Hong Yu had mentioned, obsessed individuals hiding deep within the spatial crack. Closing his eyes, he focused, sensing their malevolent intent. A smile crept across his face. Let them come, Lu Sheng announced with a confident tone. I'll deal with them all at once. His purple energy flared brightly as he prepared for the confrontation. He was determined to eliminate the threat in one decisive move, avoiding a tedious search for each fanatic. Meanwhile, Hong Yu and her team continued their work, diligently packing the dense silver deposits into their backpacks. The sound of metal clinking and the rustling of bags filled the air. As the backpacks grew heavier, the team's morale lifted. The bald man, lifting a heavy bag, couldn't hide his joy. The blue-haired man, also visibly pleased, marveled at their progress. Hong Yu, not far from them, examined a dense silver crystal and noted, there's still a lot left. We need to keep going. Lu Sheng, observing their hard work, decided to reward their efforts. Smiling, he made a generous offer. Once we return to the Eastern Military Headquarters, I'll share 10% of the total gains with your team. The bald man's face lit up with gratitude. He looked at Lu Sheng, his voice filled with genuine appreciation. Thank you, General Lu Sheng. This means a lot to us. Hong Yu, who was also carrying dense silver crystals, turned to Lu Sheng with a mix of surprise and admiration. Thank you for your generosity, General Lu Sheng. But really, we don't deserve this. It's not necessary. Lu Sheng's gaze locked onto Hong Yu with an unwavering intensity. Whether you think you deserve it or not isn't the issue, he said firmly. If I want to give it to you, then you should accept it, no questions asked. The members of the Red Scorpion team exchanged nervous glances but nodded resolutely. Yes, General Lu Sheng, they responded, returning to their task with renewed focus. Lu Sheng crossed his arms, a faint smile playing on his lips. He thought to himself, when you're weak, your anger changes nothing. But when you're powerful, even your smallest gestures carry weight. Suddenly, Hong Yu's expression shifted to one of alarm. She turned to Lu Sheng, her voice tense. We might have enemies closing in on us. Lu Sheng raised a hand reassuringly. I'm already aware. His calm demeanor was almost serene as the shadows around them began to stir. Figures with glowing eyes emerged, moving steadily toward them. Lu Sheng's gaze remained steady as he addressed the team. I'm just waiting for them to arrive. As the shadows parted, zombie-like warriors staggered into view, their movements jerky and unnatural. The bald man and the others gaped in shock, recognizing that these creatures were martial arts masters. Hong Yu's voice trembled with fear as she spoke. These must be the martial arts maniacs the rumors mentioned. They're the ones who attacked the Star Snail team and caused the military to lose contact. Hong Yu continued, her voice laden with dread. They even devour their own kind. I had heard they acted alone, but it seems they've organized into a group now. Lu Sheng's demeanor remained calm as he analyzed the situation. There's only one possibility. Among them is a leader with absolute power. They call him the king. The revelation left Hong Yu and the others stunned. Their shock deepened as a figure emerged from the shadows. Clapping his long, sharp nails together, a man dressed in a black, Gothic suit stepped forward. His long hair framed his face, and his crimson eyes glowed with a sinister light. You're very perceptive, the man said with a twisted smile. I'm Lu Moying, and I must say, your strength intrigues me. I imagine your flesh and blood would be quite delectable. Consuming you would make me even stronger. Behind him, a cannibalistic human addressed him. Lord Lu Moying, you can keep Lu Sheng for yourself, but we'll feast on the rest. Lu Moying's eyes flashed with a deeper crimson hue as he licked his lips. No, he said with a hungry smile. Only I am worthy of consuming the finest prey. The name Lu Moying struck fear into Hong Yu's heart. Her face went pale as she whispered to her team. He's the Eastern Star from the last generation? I thought he died more than a decade ago. Lu Sheng turned his gaze toward Hong Yu, his calm demeanor unwavering. Do you know this person? He asked. Hong Yu's eyes flickered nervously between Lu Sheng and Lu Moying. You're not aware of the full story, she began, her tone tense. Back then, the Eastern Military District had the most powerful geniuses, known as the Stars of the East. Lu Moying was ranked 3rd overall with a combat strength of 13 stars. But over a decade ago, during a mission to quell an uprising in the spatial cracks, he vanished without a trace. Lu Moying observed Hong Yu in silence, his crimson eyes gleaming with a malevolent light. Hong Yu continued, sweat trickling down her cheek. Everyone thought he was dead. I never expected him to be here, reduced to surviving by devouring the flesh of his own kind. The bald man's eyes widened in disbelief. He had 13 stars of combat strength, but Lu Sheng only has 12.5 stars. He looked around with a sense of impending doom. Panic surged through Hong Yu. Quiet, she snapped at the bald man. Even if Lu Moying was once at 13 stars, without resources for over a decade, his strength must have diminished. We might still have a chance. Lu Moying's laughter echoed through the space, maniacal and chilling. Trying to comfort yourselves, are you? His eyes narrowed as a dark, swirling energy began to envelop his body. Do you really believe there's a shortage of resources here? He raised his hand towards the sky, and a torrent of malevolent energy surged around him. The force was so intense that Hong Yu and her team shielded their faces, their fear palpable. Lu Sheng remained calm, a steady presence amidst the chaos. With a dramatic transformation, Lu Moying's form shifted. Demonic horns sprouted from his head, and his body morphed into a formidable mutant beast, complete with wings. His roar reverberated through the spatial crack, sending shockwaves of energy in all directions. Hong Yu, standing beside Lu Sheng, stared in terror, unable to comprehend the source of such power. Lu Moying's eyes glowed with a predatory light as he looked at Hong Yu. Feel the surge of my power, he said with a twisted smile. This is the greatest thrill a warrior can experience. He extended his hand, now surrounded by a vibrant green energy, and began to recount his past. Once upon a time, I was just another weakling among the stars of the East, like an ant in the grand scheme. During my descent into the spatial cracks, I was attacked by a mutant beast, left bleeding and near death. But as I teetered on the brink of consciousness, I received divine guidance. Lu Sheng raised an eyebrow, a hint of surprise in his eyes. Divine being? What do you mean by that? Lu Moying, now transformed into a monstrous mutant beast, fixed his gaze on Lu Sheng with a twisted grin. The essence of martial arts is to grow stronger by any means necessary, he declared. The divine being's wisdom was clear. If consuming mutant beasts can enhance a warrior's strength, then devouring fellow warriors must be even more potent nourishment for martial arts advancement. Unfazed, Lu Sheng maintained his calm demeanor. And who exactly is this divine being you keep mentioning? Lu Moying's eyes gleamed with dark amusement as he spread his grotesque wings, his laughter echoing with malevolent intent. I am no longer the star of the East, he proclaimed with an arrogant flourish. I am the Eastern Wicked Sun. Soon, my radiance will pierce through the spatial cracks and shine across the earth. Lu Sheng took a deliberate step forward, his voice cold and insistent. I've asked you twice now. Are you deaf or simply refusing to answer? He advanced with purpose, his body cloaked in an oppressive energy that seemed to weigh heavily on the air. Lu Sheng's gaze was unwavering, sharp as a predator's. The pressure of Lu Sheng's presence startled Lu Moying. His eyes widened with confusion. Who are you really? He demanded. But before he could react, Lu Sheng moved with blinding speed. In a fluid motion, he raised his hand, and a surge of golden energy swept through the air. In an instant, Lu Sheng's hand cleaved through Lu Moying's mutated form, slicing it into pieces with ease. The golden energy engulfed the dismembered remains, and within seconds, Lu Moying's body erupted in a spectacular explosion of light and force. As the golden energy dissipated, Lu Sheng turned away from the wreckage, a smirk playing on his lips. If you're the sun, he taunted, his voice dripping with mockery, then what does that make those who are far stronger than you?